Let us begin by reading the word problem out loud. Concessions for a Major League Baseball team needs to sell 650 hot dogs by the end of the game in order to reach their sales goal. They have already sold 275 hot dogs and are selling 75 hot dogs each hour. How many hours will it take concessions to reach their sales goal? Let us begin our strategy for problem solving by analyzing the problem. The first thing we want to do when analyzing the problem is identify the question being asked. In this case, we're asked, how many hours will it take concessions to reach their sales goal? So now that we know what it is we're asked to find, we actually know what our unknown variable is going to represent. So let us go ahead and jump to step 2 and assign a variable. Since the question was how many hours will it take concessions to reach their sales goal, our assignment of the variable is basically going to be the question reworded in the form of a statement. So we'll go ahead and use the variable x, and we'll let x represent the amount of time it will take concessions to reach their sales goal. And keep in mind that the units for our variable x is going to be hours, since the question was formatted using the term hours. So now let us go back to analyzing the problem. So let's see what other information we can extract from the given sentences. So rereading the first line, we know that concessions for a Major League Baseball team needs to sell 650 hot dogs by the end of the game in order to reach their sales goal. So we're going to want to highlight 650. That's what they need to sell. So we're going to go ahead and keep that in mind. And that's going to be in order to reach their sales goal. And now rereading the second sentence, they said that they have already sold 275 hot dogs and are selling 75 hot dogs each hour. So what they've already sold is 75. So they've already put a dent into their sales goal. That dent being 275 hot dogs. And we also know that they're selling hot dogs each hour, and the amount that they're selling each hour is 75 hot dogs. So things to keep in mind: 650, 275, and 75. We're going to be using that when forming our equation. So now we finished analyzing the problem, so let's start creating our equation. Now our equation is going to have the following structure. So keeping the sales goal in mind, there's ideally two things. There's going to be what we've already sold and the quantity that's still left to sell. So let's go ahead and start filling in this equation. Well, we know that the quantity that's already been sold, that's equal to 275. And we know that the sales goal is supposed to be 650. So what's missing is a quantity that's left to sell. For quantity, we already discussed the formula for that. I'm going to go ahead and write it down at the very top. So that formula is quantity is equal to rate times time. So we actually already know the rate. We know the rate to be equal to 75 hot dogs. And now the time, that's actually our variable x. So we're going to go ahead and fill that in. That's equal to 75x. So we're going to have 75 multiplied by x. So that's going to be our equation. So now let's go ahead and solve the equation. So we're going to start off with the original equation. So we have 650 is equal to 275 plus 75 x. So keep in mind we want to get the x completely by itself. So right now we're multiplying it by 75 and adding 275 to it. And when solving, we always want to undo addition or subtraction first. So in this case, we're going to want to undo the addition of the 275. The only way to do so is to subtract, which is opposite operation. 275 from both sides. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So on the right hand side, the positive 275 and the negative 275 cancel out, and we're left with simply 75x. And then on the left hand side, once we carry out the subtraction, you can verify that we end up with 375. So again, we want to get the x variable completely by itself. Right now we're multiplying it by 75. The opposite operation of multiplication is division, so we're going to have to divide both sides. And we're going to end up dividing both sides by 75, since that is the number that we want to eliminate. So on the right hand side, the 75 divided by 75 simplify out to a 1, leaving us with 1x, or simply x. And once we carry out the division, you can see that we end up with x is equal to 5. So it's going to be our solution for x. So now let's go ahead and state the conclusion clearly. So keep in mind the question that was asked: how many hours will it take concessions to reach their sales goal? So we want our conclusion to ideally be the same thing as a question, except we want it to be reworded in the form of a statement. So we're going to go ahead and state the following. It will take concessions 5 hours to reach their sales goal. So now that we've stated the conclusion, let's go ahead and check our result. Again, when checking the result, you want to start off with the original equation found in step 3. So we're going to go ahead and write 650 is equal to 275 plus 75x. However, we now know the value of x, so we're going to go ahead and substitute that in. So 650 is equal to 275 plus 75 times x, which is 5. So on the left hand side, we'll bring down the 650. We'll bring down the 275 on the right. And 75 multiplied by 5 gives us 375. So we'll go ahead and write that down. So now we bring down the 650, and you can verify that 275 plus 375 is indeed 650 as well. So we end up with a true statement, and that verifies that our solution is correct.